all the way to the front of the church. Net prayed she wouldn't have to lead a song, but her heart sank to her feet when she was handed the mic. Closing her eyes, she sent a silent prayer to the Lord to help calm her spirit and allow her to remember this was about praising Him and not about anyone or anything else. As the music started, Net opened her mouth, and the beautiful sound of her voice filled the church, and soon everyone was rocking back and forth to the choir singing. When Net looked at the back of the church, she was glad to see that Rife had joined several other members of the church standing in support of the choir. But when Danny stood and grabbed him by the arm and began whispering in his ear, she looked over at her sister seated at the keyboard, who had tears swimming in her eyes, and she almost forgot the words to the song. The choir finished singing and was met with thunderous applause from the congregation as they all made their way back to their seat. The Jones twins usually smiled at the people they passed on their way to their seats because they knew they had sung well. But today, it was all they could do not to scream at everybody to shut up and leave them alone. Back in their seat, she sat fuming with her arms crossed and almost jumped out of her skin when her sister tapped her on her arm and reached over to whisper in her ear. Net, if we sit here mad at those heifers, they are going to hold it over our heads for the rest of the school year. They will walk around like peacocks, telling everybody how they walked in here and we got mad because they looked good and we were jealous. I know you're mad, but don't let them know it, okay? Yeah, all right, whatever. But I'm going to tell you right now, they better stay out of my face when we get to school because if they say one word to me, I will bust them in their face, she said, realizing her sister was right, and sat up in her seat in an attempt to appear unconcerned. When the part of the service came where the visitors were asked to stand, identify themselves, and say who had invited them to the services, four people stood: Will, Danny, Sherry, and Rife. Hello, my name is William Banyan, and I am a friend of the Jones family. And I truly enjoyed the service today, and I will be back, said the coach as he looked over and smiled at Denise, who smiled back and looked away. Glad she wasn't white because then everyone would see the blush creeping up her neck and spreading across her cheeks. Next to stand was Danny and Cherie, who took great pains to let everyone see how they looked and what they were wearing because they kept fussing with their clothes and their hair. Hi, my name is Danielle, and I'm a friend of Matthew Jones and his sisters. They invited us here, wondering what was bothering her and getting annoyed with all her wiggling around. No, she didn't, Vet. No, she didn't say she was a friend of ours, hissed Net to her sister, who had placed her head in her hands because she knew she was going to have to break out the heavy artillery to stop her sister and Jill from pummeling Danny and Sherry tomorrow at school. She was brought out of her fantasy by the voice of Cherie introducing herself to the congregation. Hi, everybody. My name is Sheremy, and I'm a friend of Matthew and his sisters, too. I like your church and your choir, and I want to come back here again, she said while placing her hand on Rife's shoulder as if she needed to lean on him for support to keep her from falling. Everyone was thrilled that the three new visitors had all been invited by the Jones family, and they kept applauding them and smiling in their direction with looks of pride on their faces. This was almost unbearable, and the girls found they didn't even have the strength to look around at their enemies anymore. But when they heard Rife's voice, they couldn't resist and joined the entire church as they all fastened their eyes on the handsome, tall, dark stranger with the dreads and a smile that warmed your heart. Hello, my name is Rife Jackson, and I'm also a friend of the Jones family. And I wish to say it is a pleasure to be here today, and I will be back, he said, and flashed a smile and a quick wink in Vic's direction before taking his seat. That wink was the lifesaver the girls needed to bring back a smile to their lips and let them know they had nothing to worry about. They were in their own church, and these two troublemakers were on their ground, which meant they had home court advantage. They'd see who was going to get the last laugh. Just then, the deacon asked everyone to stand and receive the pastor who was getting ready to deliver the morning sermon. And the newly expanded Jones family stood and said amen to the woman of God. End of Volume 1.